Hey everybody, the time has finally come. Cliff Notes Podcast is finally here. So let's talk business, where we talk to everyday entrepreneurs and business professionals about the grind and hustle it takes to run an everyday business.
Hey guys, this is Cliff with Cliff Notes Podcast, and today is a special one. It's our very first podcast, and we got a special guest here today, Adam Crosley. Welcome.
Thanks for having me, brother.
No problem. Today's also a special day because the solar eclipse.
It is.
It only happens like once every 20-something years, something like that. Adam wears many hats. He runs around between doing his mortgage company, coaching, and he owns many properties in the area. He's also a father of how many?
Four
children.
Yeah.
And so I just want to start this off by trying to get a little bit more information about you. Like, what made you get into the mortgage industry?
What made me get into the mortgage industry? I have always been fascinated with real estate. And after college, I went to Alaska to run dog sleds and pick up dog poop. And I did that for a couple of years. And I was reading a lot of real estate investing. And I came back to Plattsburgh in 2008, and I was going to become an agent, a realtor. And 2008, big mortgage crash. It was an interesting time. I was studying to become a realtor, and the broker that I was talking to, we were having a conversation one day, Joey Trombley, and we were just talking about what the future held and everything else. And in that like 1 or 2 month period, half of the mortgage originators in Plattsburgh quit.
Really?
And it was like, do I want to be one of 6 or do I want to be one of 150? And so I asked Joey a simple question that I guess changed my life. What percentage of deals are financed? And he said 80, 90%. And at the time, 2008, when like the financial world was crashing, people thought that people weren't going to get mortgages anymore. And my little hillbilly brain, that didn't make sense, right? So I was like, people are still gonna not magically start being able to pay cash for a house. So I cut my teeth in the mortgage business in 2008 and learned through the crash. Everybody was getting out, and it was a hard time, but I was, still wet behind the ears and didn't know any different. And I just worked my tail off, and I built a great mortgage business.
Nice. I mean, it must make you feel really good that, in that amount of time when you started, that you've won numerous amount of awards, and you're pretty much one of the top brokers in the area of Plattsburgh.
Yeah, we do. This last year was the worst year. I don't even know where we ended up this last year. Probably only around 18 or 20% of homes in the county that we financed. But our best year, we did 34% of all the financing transactions in the county, which is awesome. It's like 1 out of 3 people for the better part of a decade. If you've bought a house in Clinton County, there's a 1 in 3 chance that you've used us.
So as a mortgage broker, and for newer people that want to get in to buy their first house or their second property or whatever it may be, what would be some things that you would recommend to somebody that wanted to buy a house? What would things that they'd have to work on to get that first? Because obviously your house is one of the biggest investments you'll ever make.
Yeah.
So what kind of advice would you give a first-time home buyer?
I mean, the number one piece of advice is everybody starts somewhere. So come give us a call, see exactly where you're at, and we're going to help you build you a plan. Maybe that means you're qualified and you can start shopping this afternoon. Maybe it means that you've got a long way to go, but you don't know where you're going if you don't know where you're going, right? So you have kind of to draw a line in the sand, meet yourself where you are. One of the reasons I got good at fixing people's credit is because when I lived in Alaska, I didn't get mail for 3 years. So when I came back, I had a 400 credit score. And then I had to learn how to fix my own credit so that I could, and then I've been able to use that skill and fix other people's credit. So, but after doing it it's crazy. I've been doing it for 2008. I mean, it sounds like 2008 wasn't very long ago, but in hindsight, that was 15, 16 years ago now.
Yeah,
So
no,
it's crazy. Yeah.
it's nuts. Now, is credit the only way for someone to buy a house? So just say somebody just has went through bankruptcies or,
So one of the differences between using a mortgage lender versus an actual bank, we only get paid doing one thing. And that's kind of why I've diversified a little bit. But, so because we only get paid doing mortgages, we have way more types of products than most lenders have. I can do an FHA with 10% down to a 500 credit score. If you have over a 600 credit score, I can usually put together a package for you. You might need a little more cash, you might need, whatever, but there's a lot of options that somebody like myself can help you out with versus going to like a traditional bank.
Okay.
But there's a few parts to a mortgage. So you need to have a certain credit score, right? You need to have some cash. You need some cash to close. Now, depending on the type of loan, sometimes you can do 100% financing. Sometimes you can get the seller to roll in some of the costs. Sometimes you can put some of the cost with a higher interest rate into the yield. Some of the banks around here do that. You need to have the collateral. The collateral that's getting mortgaged, that has to be of a certain property. Like certain loans, you can't have any peeling paint if it was built before 78 because maybe there's lead-based paint in there. Who knows? There's all sorts of little random loopholes that the collateral itself has to meet. And then there's the capacity, which is your debt to income ratio. So, somebody that makes, let's say you got two people that they each have a 800 credit score, but this person makes 30 grand a year and this person makes 300 grand a year. Well, obviously this person can afford a lot more, and that's the debt to income ratio, the capacity that goes into effect with that. So we analyze all of those things, and when we approve somebody.
Right. Now, have you noticed any problems with people coming in? And obviously COVID changed everything as far as if you look today, inflation is a big deal. When I bought my house, I financed my house at a 2.7 interest rate.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, those rates are like
They're gone.
Yeah, they're super gone. But what would you say to people that think that they're going to come back? You think that's going to come back in the future, or you think that's
I don't.
no?
I don't. The unintended consequence. So rates, in my personal opinion, never should have gotten that low. The government was, through quantitative easing, was buying billions of dollars of mortgage-backed securities a month to artificially keep rates low to stimulate housing. Because when you stimulate housing, that stimulates so many other things. And it's good in theory. The problem is when they stopped, the pendulum swung from one level of ridiculous way past normal to a new level of ridiculous, and now we've seen rates really high, up into 8.5%. Now they've come back, and they're high sixes, low sevens, depending on credit, the program, etc. But I think rates really should never have gotten below 5%, and some people would even joke that if you have a rate below 5%, you live in government subsidized housing.
Right. Right.
Right.
No, for sure.
But that's one of the other reasons why there's no inventory right now. I don't fit in my house anymore. I don't fit in my house today. When I moved in there, it was just after my divorce. It was me and my kids half-time. I've met somebody, I'm engaged. We have another kid together. She had brought a child into our family. So now there's 6 of us in this house, in a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house. We don't really fit, but I've got a 2.25% interest rate.
Right.
The cost for me to go do it, so there's this, it's called the lock-in effect. And there's a lot of people that don't want to move because the cost of moving would be so much. And that is hurting the supply right now.
For sure.
Which is causing one of the reasons why we're seeing such a drive in price, is because there's this artificial hold on supply because rates were so low for so long that's why not a lot of people are moving, putting their home on the market unless they have to right now.
Right. Now, you see a lot of things in the news right now where they're talking about these real estate agents aren't necessary. What could you tell us the reason why they are?
That's a can of worms. This lawsuit that was filed against NAR, the National Association of Realtors, for your viewers, the 20-second Reader's Digest of what's going on, basically is saying that the historically the seller has paid commission to the seller's broker, who splits the commission with the buyer's broker as a way to market the property. And what they're saying is that the buyer themselves should be negotiating the commission, and the seller, it's unlawful for the seller to be paying for the buyer's agent's commission, is the theory in general. And while that may be true, so when you're an agent, you can do one of two things, right? You can be a buyer's agent, you can be a listing agent. Sometimes it's this, sometimes they do the same role.
Right.
But a buyer's agent is, when you bought your first house, let me turn the question around. When you bought your first house, did you know what was going on?
Absolutely not.
Cool. Do you think that professional that you paid for, that was effectively free for you, was able to help you navigate through that and act in your best interest?
For sure. I guess there's a lot of legal aspects of buying a house, and you're doing it the right way.
You just don't know what you don't know in its simplest form. While I agree with the argument of that, I don't think what they've ended up with as a possible solution. And honestly, I've read a lot. I haven't made any official statements on it because I'm just not well versed enough in it. I'm not an agent. I'm on the financial side of it, even though I work hand in hand with agents every day. But the reality is, I don't know what's going to come of it. But buyer's agents are extremely needed and required, in my own personal opinion.
Right. As far as home inspections, do you think that's like a necessary thing that people buying their first house should get? Because I've noticed, me being an electrician, going to people's homes and like tell them like, oh, your whole panel box needs to be replaced. And I mean, there's so much more things that could go wrong that could cost the buyer or the seller money when purchasing or trying to sell their first home.
I look at a home inspection as a really good insurance policy. At the end of the day, is a home inspector going to cover everything? No, but they're going to get a line. They're going to be your eyes and ears, because especially your first-time home buyer, but most home buyers, when they're touring a property, they're picturing their kids, maybe even their future kids running around the property. They're not looking, and they're looking at some of the cosmetic stuff. They're not looking at some of the actual functioning things of a home, because to your earlier point, your home is, for the average family in America, your home is your biggest asset. But your home is unique from a fiscal perspective, is that we're emotionally tied to our homes. It is our biggest asset, but the average homeowner isn't thinking about it as the biggest asset. They're looking at it as, this is the place that I want to raise my family. This is where I want to spend 20 years, and this is the dining room table that I want to raise my kids around, or whatever that may be. And emotionally, people are thinking that way. They're not thinking about, does the electrical panel need to be replaced in this house, right? So it's a really good insurance policy. It's not required, but it's highly recommended. I highly recommend that anybody get a home inspection whenever they purchase real estate.
Sure.
Sure. Yeah.
So not only are you a broker and selling mortgages, you're also an investor.
I am.
You invest properties. How long ago was it when you bought your first property?
So my first property I ever purchased, I bought a single-family house that had an apartment off the side. It was a converted garage. The people that we purchased it from, it was his mother that lived in the property. And yeah, I was able to take that property, rent it out, and made a little bit of money from that. And that bought the next one, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
So you're using the equity of your one house to get another?
Yep.
You think that's the best way to do it? I mean, I know I've heard I'm actually looking to get into my first investment property this year as well, and I've heard that's the way to do it: buy your first property and then take the equity of that first property to buy your next, and so kind of like a domino effect. I'm trying to think of the guy's name. He talks about this. What's his name? I don't
There's
know.
a lot of people, a lot of investors.
Yeah.
I mean, so yeah, I mean, when one property grows, you can sell and you can move. My ex-wife still owns my first property. Yeah. But no, but to me, real estate is the best investment there is. They're not making any more of it.
Sure.
It's you get cash flow, you get appreciation through tax benefits, you get depreciation, and ultimately a tenant is paying down your mortgage.
For sure.
My net worth goes up every month because my mortgages get paid down from the cash that my tenants pay me.
Right. Now, what's when you buy a property, what kind of like an ROI would you like to see in a property?
It depends on the property. I mean, I've bought properties with super thin margins. I've bought properties with really big margins.
Right.
It depends on your leverage. It depends on a lot of things. But I look for, like when I buy a property, I look for location because you can't change that, right? Real estate, location, location, location.
For sure.
And I look for value add opportunities. I look for places where I can come in and do my thing. You know, I have a certain aesthetic that I like in all my units. And I like to provide a nice place,
Right.
for businesses and for places to live. And I think there's a lot to be said for that. And I think there's ways that you can come in, and there's lots of ways that you can squeeze value out, but it's all about increasing the net operating income to make your properties worth more.
Right. So that's another thing with Adam. He owns personal residential properties and he owns commercial space. Adam is one of my landlords here at a commercial venue here. He is a great landlord, by the way.
I paid him to say that.
Yeah. But no, I think investment properties is a great way to make money.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I think when I get started, I'm looking to go a little bit bigger than a duplex, and just to give me kind of like a faster return and paid off quicker. What would you say about people that want to buy their first investment property? How is that different than buying, say, I guess, a regular first family home?
Less emotion.
Okay.
Like, do the numbers make sense? Ultimately, right? I mean, like Cliff and I are neighbors here in our commercial plaza. I look at a lot of real estate personally. And, one of my mentors in real estate investing, one of the things that he always says is you need to underwrite about 100 deals, like from a pure investment standpoint, to find 10 that make sense to really make offers on. And of those 10 that you make offers on, you should probably only get 3 accepted. If you get more than that accepted, you're probably offering too much. And of those 3, maybe you can only get financing together for 1. So you really got to look at about 100 deals to get 1 out of it. So I look at deals every single week, and sometimes it makes sense and sometimes it doesn't. But
now, is there a difference between when you buy a residential property versus when you buy a commercial property?
Yes and no. Yeah, I mean, it's income, right?
Right.
So anything that's 5 or more units is considered commercial.
Correct.
And it doesn't qualify for a standard residential loan. But being an investor myself and being a lender, I've learned a lot about it, the different things. So if you can come up with 20% down, you can use like a DSCR loan, a debt service coverage ratio loan, and really they don't even look at you. I like to do commercial loans at this point because I've just got so many things going on. I mean, personally, my finances are a mess. I just like to go through a regular underwriting standard for residential. Residential underwriting guidelines are way more strict than commercial underwriting guidelines. So, excuse me. So with that said, I like to operate in the commercial underwriting space because I think that um, I think it's just easier to acquire those types of properties once you get to a certain point.
For sure. Now, on to your other journey of entrepreneurship here is that you're also a coach.
Yeah, yeah. So I've been coaching for a couple years now. I coach. I do coach a couple business owners, but primarily my clients are other mortgage professionals across the country that are looking to grow their business. And I so I started in 2008 myself. I hired my first business coach in 2012. So I've been professionally coached for 12 years now.
Really?
And yeah, and it has been I've I can't even imagine the amount of money I've spent on coaching over the years and conferences and everything else. But that's I mean, like most people think education stops at high school or college, right? And if the world today is changing so fast, just to be able to, like one of my favorite books is Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, which was,
Yep.
written in 1920. Um, and ish. And one of the things he talks about in that book is the power of a mastermind. Well, when you get, I mean, in any industry, like if you found other electricians that were doing about the same type of business or a little bit better than you, it doesn't matter if they're in our backyard or if they're in, Nevada.
Right.
Like you have the same unique set of challenges that I just would never be able to relate to because I've never been an electrician, right? I mean, I've tried to do electric stuff, but 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 through that, you can. It's like 1+1 is 3 type thing, right?
Right.
But also finding a mentor in your unique niche that's walked the walk before, you're gonna get the same result a lot faster. So I'm so grateful for the coaches that I've had over my career. And I'm so grateful to be a coach and help other people out.
Is that what made you to want to be a coach? Is
Yeah,
just that feeling to helping others?
Yeah, I mean, dude, it is like, and I've shifted as I've grown, right? But like when, like I used to be so excited to hit certain goals myself, but now like when my coaching students hit these goals, like that is the coolest thing, right?
Right.
Like I help them because really all coaching is, it's identifying a goal, it's creating a game plan to actually hit that goal, and then holding them accountable to that game plan
For sure.
in its simplistic form, right? And when somebody, let's say they made, I don't know, just pick a number. Let's say they made 75 grand last year, in mortgages, and let's say they have a goal to do 150,000. They want to double their income, like crazy if you can double your income, right? Well, anything can be done because has somebody else done it before, like the 4-minute mile effect? Yes, okay, then just go do what they did, go copy that game plan, and then redo it yourself. It's just a math problem at that
Yep.
point. But the hardest part is doing the work to get there every single day, the training, the actual, picking up the phone, whatever it is to get that result. And it's super, super rewarding.
Is there something that you do differently that, like maybe something you learned from a mentor that coached you at one time that not only have you taken on, but you've tweaked to make it better to give to your students?
So my basic theory is reverse engineering, your income.
Right.
So, I mean, and you can do this not just in mortgage, but really in any sphere, is like you take how much you want to make, you divide it by what your average revenue per sale is to get how many sales you need to get. And then you just kind of figure out what your conversion rate is. So like for me in my business, historically it's tracked between like 20 to 25%. So if I get 1 out of 4 or 1 out of 5 leads that I get is going to convert to 1 deal. Okay, so 1 out of 4 or 1 out of 5 families that I meet is actually going to end up buying a house with me, right? Hillbilly math, half the people aren't going to qualify. Half the people aren't going to like me. You know what I mean? So I use
for
1
sure.
out of 4, right? I mean, it's like, and I think one of the things that I do well is I break things down into very simple ways of looking at them.
Right.
But so let's just say it's, that's true. Okay, well, but same thing in, in the electrical field, same thing in whatever widget you're selling, whether it be insurance or whatever, but you can just kind of reverse engineer. Like, I know what I need to do in order to generate 1 lead. Like my data says that every 10 phone conversations I have to out of every 10 phone conversations I have, I generate 1 lead. Okay, cool. Well, if I convert it, 25%, I need to have 40 phone conversations to generate 4 leads, and one of those leads is going to convert to there. So if I have 40 conversations a day, I should get 1 closed client a day.
Right.
And
do you have set plans that, well, it's kind of like, let's say, was it Gordon Ramsay, where he talks about the baby steps.
Dave Ramsey. Yeah.
Gordon Ramsay.
He's a chef.
Yeah. Tomato.
Exactly.
But he has these things where he talks about baby
Yep.
steps, and like, do you have that same kind of like call it a pyramid?
No, I don't. I have different people that are working. So right now there's, I think, 37 people that I coach. And I have ones that they've started their own business and I'm coaching them on how to build that business. I have other people that are, they're brand new in the business and they don't know that there's 2 G's in mortgage.
Right.
So, and some people it's building relationships, some people it's diving deep into P&L, but it's taking whatever that goal is and breaking it down into bite-sized chunks.
Okay. Whether it's whatever avenue you want to take here, whether it's your coaching or your investments or even in your mortgage career, what would you think your most memorable achievement is in one of those industries?
Most memorable achievement
in your career?
I've been honored with some really cool things. I think the thing that blew me away the most was a community award that I got from the Chamber of Commerce.
Right.
The community.
Remember that?
Yeah, I was honored to get the Trailblazer Award last year from the Chamber of Commerce, and I didn't feel worthy of that award. And
So my viewers and listeners can see what is a Trailblazer Award.
The Chamber picks one person every year in our whole community, which is huge, and they say that this person is like somebody to watch over the next few years. And that, I've won some really cool awards. I've gotten some really awesome recognitions there, but that was the one that, still to this day, I was I just was so blown away by,
Right.
because it's almost like they saw something in me that I didn't even see in myself yet, you know? So I think that's why that award was so special to me. I've won a lot of production awards. I've done a lot of cool things, and because I'm a grinder. I grew up
grind.
a grind, right?
Yeah.
I grew up cutting firewood and baling at hay.
Right.
Most of the work that I do, it's just BSing with people. It's not real work, right? So but that was the one thing that really blew, and still a couple years later, still blows me away thinking about it.
Keep in mind too, don't put yourself down to where you don't think you deserved it. Because me watching, you're a very intelligent man. You've impressed me a lot. And you make people's dreams come true. That person that wants their first house and they think they can't do it, you make it happen.
You did for me.
As my office manager. So
well, thank you, brother. I appreciate that. And it's I'm not trying to undercut myself by any means, but I was blown away by that, because I've always been so impressed by the other Trailblazers in the past. So to be amongst that elite club was. I was absolutely blown away by it.
Right. That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
We're going to start coming to the end here. I'm going to ask you a few questions. I just want people to know who you are. They obviously, you've told them what you do and everything like that. If someone wants to get a mortgage from you, how can they find you?
Um, our website is adamapproves.com. So you can go there. You can go on our Facebook. You can shoot us a message there at Team Crosley at Crown Home Mortgage. You can give us a call. You can go shoot me an email or whatever it may be. But stop by our office. We're located at 12 Booth Drive right here in Plattsburgh, right off the highway, right next to Butcher Block. But yeah, lots of ways.
Awesome. Is there any other questions that maybe I missed to ask you? Is there anything that you want to add?
No, I think that anybody can really achieve anything in life if they put their mind to it and they grind. I'm a hillbilly from South Colton, New York, and I've done some really cool things. And I think that if you put your mind to something, whatever that is, and you come up with a game plan to get it, I think anybody in life can achieve anything.
Sure.
And if you study and you find mentors, look for people that have done it before you. Success leaves clues.
Sure.
Right?
Definitely.
And just find out what they did and copy and paste. And that's all you got to do.
Definitely.
Simple as that.
It's a hard path, going into business for yourself and, running a successful business. And, that's how I did it. I left a regular job and everybody thought I was crazy for doing it. But anything is absolutely possible when you put your mind to it. Hustle, grind, execute. Those are kind of my 3 factors that I've always done and I've always believed in. So just work as hard as you possibly could. So I'm Cliff with Cliff Notes. This is Adam Crosley with Crown Mortgage and all his other entrepreneur endeavors. I appreciate you coming on today, man.
Appreciate you, brother.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
And if you guys have any questions, just give us a call and stay tuned for the next episode.
Cheers.